Hello, this is Michael Gross, and you're watching What's Neat with Ken Patterson.
The What's Neat This Week video podcast is supported by enthusiastic model railroaders just like you. Additional support is provided by Spring Creek Model Trains, your destination for model trains. Stop in and say, wow. Check out their website at springcreekmodeltrains.com. Further support is provided by Microengineering, keeping you on track with quality products for 55 years. Check out their website at www.microengineering.com. Order from your local dealer or order direct by calling 1-800-462-6975. Additional support is provided by Yelsma Graphics, America's leading distributor of quality railroad art and embroidered clothing since 1985. Check out their website at yelsma.com. Further support is provided by the NCE Corporation, the power of DCC. Visit their website at ncedcc.com. And thank you for supporting the What's Neat This Week podcast. This is the What's Neat This Week, show number 178 for December 4th, 2021. I don't know how we got this far, but here we are.
We're here.
I've got a great crew tonight with us. I always like to start on this side with Mike, buddy. Hey, Mike.
Hi, everybody.
It's awesome to have you, and you're going to be talking about another really cool model tonight.
Right. Sitting
right next to me is Sugarfire Joshua Barton.
What's up, everybody?
And right next to Joshua, we've got Jimmie Pottberg, all the way from, where are you from, Jimmy?
Salina, Kansas. Great to be here, thanks.
Which would explain all the grain elevators set up tonight in the room, and there's a lot. On the very end, we've got our favorite, James Regier. And
Hi,
my
everybody.
partner in pool, which I really enjoy doing that with you.
I have not been living up to that reputation lately, I tell you what.
We did that feat Thursday. All right, so my name is Ken Patterson, the host of the What's Neat Show over at Model Railroad Hobbyist Magazine, and the November video is running currently over there on their YouTube channel. And in that video, the lineup is pretty amazing this month in that Radisson McGuire presents to us all of the wonderful military models that he has built. Some were freight car ready and others were field ready for battle. And it's quite an array of vehicles that he walks us through one by one, and he really knows his stuff. Also in that video, we go over all the firehouses that are available from Walthers, and we in fact build a really nice model for the show, a nice how-to segment on that. A lot of people have asked me about why do I use the clear packing tape for the windows? And it was a lot of comments and readers' comments, oh my goodness, dust would stick to that and it would be a nightmare. It actually doesn't. And those windows, as Mike, Buddy, and myself can both attest to on vehicles, last up to 20 years without weathering. So it does work, guys. Also in that video, we cover a lot of the fire apparatus vehicles that are made from Boley, i.e. Scene Masters from Walthers, and a couple European brands too. Plus those absolutely amazing fire engines that light up from East Coast circuits.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Neil Maltz out there just did a fantastic job. Some of these models have got 28 LEDs on them and or more. They're amazing. And I mean, they're the highlight of the video. And yes, you guys have been buying a lot of those from Neil. Thank you very much. And what else is in that video? Let's think. That pretty much covers it. There's a great interview from Larry Harrington from Bachman Industries out in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where he goes over these brand new, beautiful Amtrak locomotives that they are coming out with. I think they're the Siemens Charger locomotives, if I'm correct.
Right, these are the intercity Chargers, like not for the regional service, but for the long distance.
Nice. And the black one, the special paint scheme, that limited run is absolutely beautiful. That you can get from Spring Creek in Deshler, Nebraska. Now, next week on the show, we are going to have an interview with Dave and Deb Zucker from Spring Creek. They stopped by here in town for the Great American Train Show that ran last week at Collinsville's Gateway Center, which is where the NMRA National will be this summer here in St. Louis. Looking forward to that. When I was out there at that show, we met some wonderful young model railroaders. I mean, these are the new Daniels, right? First was Robbie Welsh, who came up to me and wanted to have a selfie taken, and his friend Dominic Golf also, and their wonderful mother, Sarah Welsh. That's Robbie's mother. She's an absolute doll, and she's down here in the audience with us. It's really nice to have you tonight.
Thanks for coming.
The one interesting thing that Robbie shared with us, and I got some B-roll to run of this, and our neighbors, I know, absolutely appreciated it, but they're pretty used to what goes on around here. They have a set of K3 LHA horns on top of a 2010 Dodge Grand Caravan.
Nice.
And air compressor, the whole setup's built on the interior of the building to blow these horns, and it's quite a neat presentation. Yeah.
I can't tell you how often I've kind of wanted one of those on the vehicle. When someone cuts you off on traffic, they'll know about it.
Yeah, that's very true.
Absolutely. We do have some other models on the table we want to talk about tonight briefly, and that is Jenifer Kirk, our wonderful friend from the UK. We love you, Jenny. She sent us one of her freight cars that she uses to help promote her show. And she does a fantastic show. And she calls this a wagon. They don't call them freight cars over there.
That's right.
And this one's got her, I'm going to shoot probably an outdoor photograph of this so you guys can see it clear. It's got her graffiti on it, the K for her show, Jenifer Kirk.
That's awesome.
Really appreciate it.
Nice.
Beautiful car. Yeah.
So, Jimmy, you came all the way here to share these amazing buildings, which are, in fact, all 3D printed. You elaborated to me earlier in the week that the larger grain elevators, as you can see lined up here in the background, and we'll be shooting B-roll of all these so you can see them up close, it takes up to a week to print each one of those models. So your machines are running.
Yes,
But
constantly.
tell us about, first of all, your passion for the hobby. What got you into this?
Fabulous to get started. A good friend of mine, Rick Eckert, wanted me to, I met him 2.5 years ago at the Deshler show up at Spring Creek, and he wanted me to do a stave silo for him to build part of his complex from up small town grain storage complex. So right in front of Mike over there, the smallest you see is a typical size of the small grain or stave silo that's used to store grain, and there's an elevator complex that's made out of those, and that made it for him pretty easily, and he was very impressed with that. And then he said, well, he wanted me to do the Balin building, which is from that same complex. And so I said, you can scratch build that. That's easy. Don't worry. And he says, no, I can't do this, but you can print one. And I was a little concerned about getting the design and the architecture of it. So in the middle of the table there is, I think that's the N scale or Z scale, I can't tell when they're not sitting together, of the Balin building.
Okay.
And
now you brought Rick Eckert with you.
Yes.
Now, was he the gentleman that you showed me some photographs where he's modeling this complex? Is that what you are referring to presently?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, that is amazing. I can't wait, Rick, to see how this turns out. I'm going to run 3 photographs of this complex. There he is. Hey, Rick.
Hey, Rick.
These photographs that I'm about to show you right now are, in fact, of this complex, and Jimmy has printed out some of the buildings. So, I mean, this beats scratch building because, as James Regier has pointed out to us, it's a lot easier just to draw them in CAD than it is to sit there with styrene and a knife for a week and a half.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing complex of buildings. It's going to be a very neat build. Is this going to be built on a diorama or a modular layout? Rick, where's Rick at? Go ahead and fill it in for him. Is this a diorama he's building?
No, it's a layout that he's working on eventually
cool.
down the road.
And the super nice thing about the 3D print is once you have the design, you can keep going. Like if you want 2 buildings, you just press the print button again. You got 2 buildings if everything works out. So it's a neat system. And it's very addicting to do because watching those models come out is just a lot of fun.
Very cool. Quick edit. Is that second camera running? I don't see a red light on it.
No, it's not.
Just close it, open it. So, Jimmy, the Belvedere building that you were referring to is in Belvedere, Nebraska. And that model is built in N scale. No, this is Z scale.
That's a Z scale.
Z
That's
scale
Z
right
scale.
here.
That's N
N
scale.
scale's
scale.
next to it. Isn't this amazing? Look how big that is for Z scale.
And
the HO scale model is back
Right.
here on the back, which I did shoot B-roll of that. And in fact, that's the model that we featured on the show a couple of weeks ago because you had sent one of those in advance. So I can use that for some outdoor run-bys when we start shooting Athearn equipment or other manufacturers' models out there. It makes great props.
Oh, great! They're great, and that was made for
Right.
Dave Zucker up at Spring Creek Model Trains.
Really?
Dave has really been a good supporter. He sells a lot of my stuff, so anybody that wants things, great place to go. Dave and Deb
They
are
are
great
They're
folks.
great
Yeah.
people. They are great.
As a matter of fact, it was at the RPM meet where I first saw that elevator, and I was like, "Wow, this is an HO scale elevator that dwarfs the cars like it's supposed
Like
to.
they really
Yeah.
do.
Like,
Yeah.
like you can actually see that from a mile away in your basement. And that's pretty amazing. Not everyone has built elevators like that. But growing up in that area, you really know that those elevators are huge.
Right.
They dwarf anything around them.
Dave and Deb are the best. They stopped
Absolutely.
by here in the studio on Monday. We did an interview with them for about 7.5 minutes, and there was a lot of love in the room. I mean, they are high school sweethearts, in fact,
Yeah.
and they have a business where they're so happy to be able to work with their entire family, Jeff and Mike, and they all work together out there. And it's that will run in the middle of next week's show. Now let's talk about some of these other large grain elevators that we had here. First, I want to say that you make a round head house that you can adapt to any of these grain elevators, and I'm showing video of that right now. Tell me, why did you do that? That's a good idea.
Again, Dave Zucker said, "Hey, Jimmy, I'd like to have a rounded head house. Can you do one of those?" So I got online, got the measurements, actual measurements. That's from David City, Nebraska.
Okay.
And I will sell the regular head house that comes with the elevator, or if you want a rounded head house, I'm willing to do anything.
And then when you showed me that, I showed you a photograph that I had done back in 1996,
Yes.
where I in fact built a PVC pipe grain elevator, did a Christmas shot with an Amtrak F40 locomotive, and I did the round
oval
head
head
house
Yes,
for that
yep.
grain elevator, which was kind of cool. I think I copied a photograph right out of one of the old books.
I saw it. That's great.
Yeah.
Now, Downs, Kansas, that's another very large grain elevator that you presented here. This is an HO scale model, I believe, the Downs, Kansas building.
Right.
And that's more of a square type of design
Yes.
where all the
Yep.
silos are set up in that fashion.
Yes. And you can't see, it's hard to see here, but the interior of that is very interesting because you see the interior of those silos. And
Okay.
and those HO grain
I'm gonna
elevators,
B-roll that. We're showing it right now.
HO grain elevators are almost 16 inches tall, just the elevator itself, not including the head house. So
Yeah.
it's an amazing structure.
And with that interior, you could light this thing up and have great interior
Absolutely.
detail.
Yeah.
And it's got grates on it where the trucks poured their wheat.
Yeah.
And I also make flats. I've got a flat
We're
behind
going to
us.
talk about
of the-
that right
okay.
now. The flat wall unit, as you called it.
Yes.
And we shot video of that. And tell me, what use would that have on a layout?
Again, you don't have room for all that footprint for that huge elevator, but you want the size and stuff like that, so you put that up against the wall, and
Just
it
have
takes
one
up
siding going
one
right
side,
through?
one
Yeah.
side up against it, and yeah. In fact, when Josh came in tonight, he says, "Is that a corner piece?" And I got thinking, "Oh, I could make one."
Yeah,
Which again, a great
sure it
idea.
is.
If you
Yeah.
set it in the corner,
whatever you want.
what else but you do in a corner? I mean, a great
Yeah.
way to eat it up.
Exactly. I'm all about selective compression, and
Yes.
wherever you can do that and still make it look good for a
Right.
layout, I
Yep.
mean,
Right.
anywhere you can save
So-
room.
Well, and the 3D modeling actually makes that very simple because you can just go right into that program, slice it, and print it to go at the exact size you want. Conceivably, you could even do one of those cutaways where you actually, and this wouldn't be conventional, normally you'd have the cutaway facing the wall, but you could have the cutaway facing you and, have
Yeah,
sort
the
of the
whole
interior
interior.
of the
Absolutely.
of the
Yep.
elevators if it's cut in
Yeah.
two right in front of you.
Yep.
That'd be neat.
If you're really crazy.
Which who isn't, right?
I'm going to try to get this name right. I spelled it Behlen. Bellin?
Balin.
Balin.
Yeah.
Now,
Building.
this is a structure that they store grain in, but it looks like a contemporary type of a building. And you make this building in S scale, HO scale, N scale, and Z scale. I'm showing right now the footage of all of those buildings lined up over here in the shop on the table. Tell us about that.
I did not bring with me, but I've also done that building in O scale. And again, it's just a beautiful structure.
Yeah.
The architecture of that building is just absolutely fabulous. And again, my buddy Rick, that was part of the grain complex that I started for him, and he convinced me to go in and start making that. Again, Dave Zucker up at Spring Creek saw that and said,
Yeah.
"Wow, I got to have one of those because that'll bring people in to see what we
Absolutely.
do." And
Yeah.
Dave has sold a lot of those and loves those items.
Doesn't
so.
one of those complexes there take like a week to print? To the one
The
like set
the big
of-
tall elevators
yeah,
take
for
about a week.
NHL?
That,
Yeah.
that building is probably 4 days. The Balin building
Yeah.
in HO scale.
It's so neat to see all these
Yeah.
buildings lined up.
Yeah.
What a great set
Yeah.
we have
Yeah.
tonight.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
this is like, I mean, this is like Hutchinson almost.
Yeah.
You don't have any one of them that's half mile long, but yeah.
Again, I'd love to do a half mile long, and can do a half mile long elevator.
Yeah.
If someone's interested, get it in touch with me. That'd be
Yeah, I
a
like
neat
that.
structure.
Yeah.
Now, the steel grain bin is a storage bin, and this is a very large round building, and this one is an HO scale that we're showing right now. Very well done. In fact, that one's sitting right behind you right there. Why
Yes.
don't you grab
Yeah.
that and hold that up for everybody to see? That's a pretty neat model.
Oh, wow.
Well,
Multiples of those, right?
and look at the
Oh,
curvature of the plates
Right.
on the top of the building.
That's
Yeah.
very cool.
Actually, people don't realize that's the most complex thing that I do. The rest of these are interesting, but they're very structured and stuff like that. That was a very complex design, and the CAD work to get that was somewhat challenging. And again, Dave up at Spring Creek said, when I first made this, it didn't have these panels across the top of it. And he said, "Oh, that's kind of boring." He says, "If you could make panels on there," I said,
Yeah.
"Dave, anything for you, buddy. We're good to go." So,
Right.
but it's beautiful. And now this kind of looks like an oil storage building, but these were actually made for grain storage.
Okay.
Yeah.
But,
Now,
yeah,
you've got a
beautiful structure.
smaller grain storage bin, and I photographed a lot of these together at the same time. But this is a silver structure, and James, go ahead and grab that. Sitting right there in the spray booth.
Yep.
That is
And-
part of the complex that Rick is building.
Part of the same complex, and again, another just smaller grain storage. When they put this grain complex together, they only had so much money and afford so much at a time, and so they added them as they could and put different storage.
That makes
Look at
sense.
that on the
Well, and you do
top,
see a
how
lot of different
detailed that
elevators
is.
out there
Yeah.
with different structures that have been built on, added on over the years to try and increase capacity as they've been needed.
Yep.
So what's the difference between this one and
this one?
Well, that one over there has a fence on the top.
Okay, there's
Yep.
three. There's three there. There are actually two that we're going to talk about. He called it a silage. Am I saying
Those
it
are
right?
two farm silos, yeah.
Those are stored meant for silage storage for farms that they
Okay.
feed
These
animals.
two are
These
here,
both
right?
two.
Yeah.
In the Midwest, there's an awful lot of open-topped ones, like that have the fence around the top of them.
Yeah.
Again, that silage forms a crust, and the rain and stuff doesn't bother them.
Okay.
You will also, not unusual to see them with a dome on top of them, kind of a thing.
That
So
is so
another
typical.
product
That's
that
a
I put
beautiful
together.
model.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
You called it a stave silo. Is that right?
Stave silo, yes. Many of those silos are stave silos. It's made out of 10-inch wide by 30-inch wall chunks of concrete.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah.
stack them all together, and then the bands that you
rings,
see
yeah.
around them are steel bands then that hold those together. But they're very, very sturdy
This is
structures.
fascinating.
And when they go to destroy those,
Yeah.
it takes an awful lot to get them down. They're just
Yeah, I've
they're
seen
so
when they fall down, they
Yeah,
just fall
they
down
just-
in one piece.
yeah,
They
yeah, and
lay
then chunks
there.
of
Yeah.
they're very
Oh, I have-
and so
You know, when my in-laws took down the silos on their old farmstead, one of my wife's uncles came out with some of his high-powered rifles and actually shot out the concrete blocks one by one and knocked down the
get it
silos that way. He just wanted to see what his rifles could do, and that was one of his
Actually sounds
activities.
like fun. How many 3D printers are you using? You must have more than one.
I have a total of 7 now on my farm, my 3D printer farm, which is
Yeah.
exciting and
Right.
really enjoy it. So I've got 4 filament printers, which are kind of like a weed eater string that
Right.
takes and melt, and then I've got 3 rosin printers, which is a liquid vat, which
Right.
James
James
did last
yeah.
week.
Yeah.
Last show that we did.
Although you've got much larger, I think, right?
I've got one to print really large. It'll print some of the bigger elevators now
You
as
said
well
you
in
could
resin.
do that elevator in O scale.
I don't know. I'd have to start doing it in pieces.
Okay.
And so, again, that's the largest I can do in a single piece, a single print. So if you want to piece it, it can be
So
done.
will one roll of filament do that, or do you have to reload?
Takes about 1 roll of filament on the largest elevator.
Okay.
To do, again, just the elevator portion, not the head house and the interior and stuff. But
Yeah.
That's amazing.
so that's about a kilogram of filament. So.
Now, we've shown this building off in the show previously. This is the Salina, Missouri Pacific Depot in Salina. And we showed the HO scale model off, but it appears that you have one in N scale and I'm
And a
guessing Z scale.
Z
here on the
scale,
table
yes, sir.
tonight.
Yep.
And we shot some close-up B-rolls of this. And one of our friends from St. Louis built this for you, in fact.
Actually, he used to live in St. Louis. He's
Oh,
up
he's
in
in-
Omaha
he's
now.
in Omaha.
Charlie Duckworth
Charlie Duckworth.
painted that, put it together and painted it for me. He did a fabulous job of painting.
Yeah.
It's just excellent.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
And so I do that in 2 different versions. That's the historic version, and then that building itself has just been remodeled. And so I do a modern version of it. It does not have the chimneys, and then it's got modern windows and stuff in it as well, in case you're
Fantastic.
interested. But-
You know, there's just something amazing when you see a building there that you're familiar with, that's recognizable.
Right.
That's like the real thing. I remember having that feeling like when I saw the Athern County Seat Depot that they did for Santa Fe. Those
are beautiful. Remember those?
There's depots all
7 or 8 years ago. Those came out.
Oh, it was longer than
I think
that.
Stephen Priest had something to do with those.
Yeah,
designs.
Stephen Priest had something to do with those designs
are
for sure.
amazing. I'd love to see those come back.
In fact, the prototype, the Marion Depot, he lived in Marion County or Marion, Kansas for a time. So but yeah, when you see that, or when Walthers did their Hutchinson Depot, I could recognize that from all the years spent in Hutchinson.
Okay.
But this here, you've also got this Fairbury.
Hold on, I don't want to go there yet. I want you to get that warm, fuzzy feeling you
Let's
were just
edit that.
describing when you said to me, when you see a building that's familiar and it's recognizable, there's something in your head that clicks.
Right.
And the wonderful thing about this show, bring me camera here on me. The most wonderful thing that I love about doing this show is the purpose of the show is to give you the first news first on new exciting products. And James is going to get that feeling because Jimmie is creating the Kirkwood Railroad Station. A building that people have wanted for years. Tell us about that, Jimmie.
Again, the stonework is in fact, those two depots were probably built about the same time.
Right.
That's the Missouri Pacific Depot, as was the Kirkwood Depot when first built out of limestone like this. So again, you can see it's a beautiful finish. So looking forward to that, and I've got a lot of people that are really excited about that.
Where do I
and
sign
that'll be
up?
fun. That's what I'm hearing. So that's going to be a fun building to
All
do.
right, James, go ahead and talk about the Fairbury, Nebraska Depot here.
Well, right. I saw this actually in Benton, and I was like, wow, I was just very impressed with the size, the structure of this depot, the realism and detail that go into it. I mean, the individual brickwork. I think you can even see the patterns where the bricks reverse direction. That they turn
correct.
90 degrees.
And this building was printed with a filament printer, and now Jimmie is going to start using the resin printer to create these brick walls, which will give you even more sharp detail.
Yes,
you were explaining to me tonight.
the brickwork, is filament. Actually, the roof on this was printed with a rosin printer.
It's
So
beautiful.
the Spanish tile roof, and again, this is my first prototype, so I'm reworking the design to get it to fit together better and stuff. But this is out of Fairbury, Nebraska, the old Rock Island
Rock
Depot.
Island.
Yes. Again, another Dave Zucker request, and Dave's very interested in these things. So.
Man, he's glad you're his fan.
Oh, Dave loves a lot of, and again, I love working with Dave and Deb and Mike and Jeff, the whole group up there. Great
Man,
folks.
he's such a great guy.
Yep.
One of the last structures I want to talk about is this bridge that runs through Tuttle Creek in Kansas. And you printed out the piers on this.
Man.
Yep.
Hold on, I got a microphone thing in the way here. All these wires are like spider webs.
So actually, when they put in Tuttle Creek Reservoir, which is right outside of Manhattan, Kansas, they relocated a bunch of railroads up in north central Kansas. And so this was a railroad crossing, a Missouri Pacific Railroad crossing, right outside of Blue Rapids, Kansas. And a good friend is mimicking that or building that replica. And there are 6 of these piers, and that's about 80 foot tall, 80 foot tall, again, at the water line.
This is the
And so-
micro-engineering 85-foot girder bridge, which adapts perfectly to this because this is a standard structure girder bridge.
Yeah.
And micro-engineering makes variable of these. They make the 50-foot, they make the 30-foot, the 85-foot, which I have used in a lot of different photographs. I might show you a couple of them right here. This beautiful silver bridge shot outside on that wonderful water in daylight. These girders are magnificent. You can find them at your favorite hobby dealer, which would be in this case Spring Creek in Deshler, Nebraska. And on top of it, we've got the micro-engineering flat bridge track, which is a lot easier to use than board by board construction because the detail on this is magnificent and it's already got the spikes and everything lined out so you can put your guardrails on the center of the bridge. So check these out. You can look at them on the microengineering website to find out what it is that you like or might be able to use for your layout. But this is a to-go source for girder bridges, and we love microengineering for helping us promote the best hobby in the world.
Absolutely.
Now,
And that rounds it out, doesn't it? Go ahead, James.
well, actually, I just wanted to talk about this a little bit. You were talking to me about this in Benton, about your layout at home with the portion running through Downs, Kansas, and you were telling me about this gentleman who took photos of the main street, looking down the main street over years and years, and you're using those as your backdrop with
Yes.
3D
Nice.
printed buildings.
That's why I got into 3D printing, was to make stuff for my own layout. And a good friend, Doug Brush there, about once every 10 years, I'd go out and stand in the middle of Main Street and look south and take a photograph and look north and take one. So I've got one of those photographs. I've taken and colorized that photograph, and that's a backdrop on the layout, and then I'm 3D printing the buildings on each corner, the grocery store on one corner, which is done, and it's absolutely gorgeous, and I'm working on the bank building on the other corner. And again, so people walk down and go, wow, that's downtown Downs, Kansas right there.
And you're
it's
angling
fun.
them too, if I remember right, so
Yes.
that it totally tricks the eye to look to thinking you're looking right down that street.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. Unfortunately, I've started building for Rick and everyone else now, and I can't get back to finish my own layout, as it turns out. But I'm having a ball. I'm really enjoying it.
So I have a question, not concerning this. What do you model? What HO scale, N scale?
I've done everything from O scale down to Z scale.
Okay.
And if people are interested, I can do scales in between.
No, I'm
If you-
talking about your personal layout.
I'm an HO scale, yes, sir.
That's a great scale to model.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I think that's primarily what we all model.
Yeah, I think so.
Now, Campbell Rice is running camera for us. Very much thank you for that, Campbell. We love your work. You do great camera work. And, Mitch did great work, too, on that last show that we did.
Yeah, he did.
But Campbell is also a perfect example of somebody who wanted to have a 3D model printed for himself. And that's at Illinois Central Caboose.
Yeah.
Campbell, how many of those have you sold so far, buddy?
They're still in production, but I've got a bunch of requests. So everybody just keep staying tuned, and when it's available and where and how much, we'll let you know.
That's perfect. Now, we also want to ask Jimmy, I think you're developing a website. How can people get in contact with you? A, for special orders. You said a lot of people like to do that. And B, to be able to look at these buildings. Have you gotten a website set up now with photos? How's that coming along?
It's still work in progress, but I've got photos of most everything. jp3dmodels.com. I love to do new buildings, different buildings. If you want flats of any of these buildings, I'm the creative part of it's what I enjoy, and I enjoy personalizing something for your layout.
That's
Nice, very nice.
We've got Mike Buddy with us tonight. And Mike, you always have something great to talk about. What have you got tonight?
Well, in line with the 3D printing theme, I've got a trailer here by a guy, I don't remember his name. I'm sorry, I met him at the RPM in St. Louis, but it's an open top Sioux line outside rib trailer, and I had to form the roof, and I kind of went the extra step by making the metal struts inside of there, and I used Kleenex soaked with Elmer's glue and water mixture to simulate the tarp on top, and when it dried, it tightened up pretty well. Then I just sprayed it flat black and did a little bit of dry brushing on it. But I've been saying for a couple of years that this 3D printing is going to revolutionize the hobby. I mean, it's revolutionizing everything.
Yes.
But I mean, the applications in our hobby are just endless. Only as far as somebody's imagination, like you, man.
It's going to be unfair with all of these model shows and train shows where people are scratch building stuff.
Yeah.
3D printing right now is classified in the same category, and to me that's unfair because those scratch building folks are just fabulous. And
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm a scratch builder, and I'm thinking, I'm like, wow, that would take me, months to build that Mopac station.
You are the scratch
Yes.
builder, by the way.
Yep.
Thanks.
Now, I see Robbie walking around over there in the shop. And Robbie, you can see where all the soldering equipment is on that countertop. Can you not over there? What? I want you to grab that red soldering gun that's over there with all my soldering equipment right underneath the Pac-Man train that you like so much.
That is a good train.
I know.
That is a neat train.
the Pac-Man train.
Didn't you want to
wow.
talk about this like 2 or 3 shows
Yes,
ago? I've been anticipating this the whole time.
Perfect for Christmas. Great Christmas gift, guys. This is a Milwaukee soldering gun. It runs on the M12 battery system, which is a smaller variant of their M18 series batteries, I believe is what they're called. And you just turn it on by flipping the switch. It tells you when it's hot, green light, red light. And this is an amazing tool in that it's portable. So you can use this at the club layout. You can use this anywhere you want on your layout with no wires, nothing to plug in, and it gets hot really fast. And I've already used this for electrical soldering on the layout, on the wiring down here. So this is a great idea for a Christmas gift for that model railroader who's got everything, because I promise you, they don't have this
That's
yet.
right.
Well, what's neat is it has its own. I mean, you don't need a stand for it. It's got everything you need right there.
Yeah.
Right.
Unlike those.
This out.
Unlike the little Weller solder pencil, that I use, that you plug in, right? You don't have the stand, and suddenly you're worrying about burning a hole in something.
Burn
Yeah.
something.
I
Yeah.
know, how do I turn it off?
Us 3D printer guys get a little nervous when they're waving this thing around.
He's worried about getting poked by the pencil.
Yeah, right. Josh's revenge here.
We've got another amazing model that was sent to me by Lombard Hobbies, and this is the Aurora Models HO scale 45-foot containers that are just now out.
The doors open.
Yeah.
They do.
The doors open.
They do. And there's full interior painted detailing on the inside of this.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
That's
It's absolutely
awesome.
gorgeous.
I wonder
cool.
if they lock
Amazing.
together with the other containers.
Now I just need to put smokers on both sides.
This is exactly what you guys did at work.
That's
You
right,
you smoke your meat in one of
Yep.
these. Is that a 20-footer?
Yes, it's a 20
Okay.
footer. And that's because our building is a historic building, and they said absolutely no smokers inside, so we had to buy part of the street.
So yeah, thank you very much for sending us these.
Those are cool.
Yeah.
I know. We love Andrew. Thank you, Andrew, for helping us promote
you very much.
the What's Neat show over at Model Railroad Hobbyist Magazine. And so with that, guys, is that just about everything we've covered tonight? Going around the table?
I guess.
This is where we're going to get Robbie to run some trains tonight, guys. So this is the best hobby in the world with some of the best people in it. We all love you, and we're glad y'all had a great Thanksgiving, and here comes Christmas. So with that, gentlemen, let's go run some trains.
Trains.
I know, right? We're going to take the NCE Power Hammerheads, and you're going to get to run the train tonight, too. You're going to
Fabulous.
love
You're going to love
it. Have
it.
you tried? You like NCE, don't you?
NCE is great. It's a great.
Now, right quick.
That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
It's a great layout.
Thumbnails
Hand
next.
me one of those.
You going to hold that up?
Yeah, sure
I love
am.
doing the thumbnail. That's fun.
Here, you hold this.
No, that looks too hot. And all these grain elevators. Look at all these buildings. I can't decide what to hold. This is a great problem to have. All right, everybody, show some teeth. We got a thumbnail.
Perfect.
Go ahead and keep camera one running, and I will kill sound. And we will roll credits on this. Jimmy, you did a great job.
Thank you, sir. Enjoyed being here. Thank you. It's great meeting all you guys in
I
person.
think everyone is going to be giving you a...
Oh, that Kirkwood station's going to be awesome.
Oh, you're going to get blown over.
Oh, yeah.
Is that not a scoop?
That is it.
First announced.
Man. Excellent. Let us know.
Well, I was a little nervous about saying anything because I'm always worried. Well, someone else is going to say, "Oh, he's going to come." Well, let's
Right,
get
so
one
you
out.
better
Let's
get one in.
let's speak. So now
I got 12 hours before mine's done now.
I'm committed. I gotta. We're not spending the night. We're driving.
We'll buy your first 10 or 12 of them.
Mike, that's what I like to hear.
All right, man. He's built richly out there. So.
Come on, Robbie.
Can I go upstairs
Get in
after
here.
this?
I was drooling over that one.
Look at that camera right there and wave. That's how it goes.
It's a nice thick
Thank you. I'm gonna run upstairs real quick, okay?
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see.
Yeah, this
Here, go ahead and kill cameras.
See how this works.
We made it through another one, gentlemen.
Yep, it was
I
great.
think that was good. It went smooth.
It did, and you did a great job.
Thank you, man.